Welcome to the Register's Report. My name is John Buckley. I'm the Register of Deeds of Plymouth County. This show is about Plymouth County real estate. The headline for the month was Sales and Mortgage are up at the end of the fiscal year. And clearly we had a great year. Our fiscal year ended on June 30th. So we were up 25% year to date, the highest number of documents recorded since 2006. Both sales, all the mortgages, and even the income that has come with it have been extremely high. So I have a great guest in the second segment of the show, Michelle Pecoraro, who's the Executive Director at Plymouth 400. In the third segment of the show, we'll be talking about some of our history, some of our notable land records, as well as one of our colonial records. So let's go right to the numbers. So the sales, in terms of deeds recorded in the month of June, we recorded 1,127 deeds, more than the 923 in May, 35% more than recorded last May. Year to date, we're up 22%, and I'll go right to the next image, which are sales for each one of our 27 communities. From Abington to Whitman alphabetically, every community has seen an increase in sales across the board. Mortgages have been a big story over the last year. There have been a lot of people using mortgages to purchase properties, but also the refinance market has been incredibly high. We recorded 3,115 mortgages in June, more than the 2,951 mortgages in May, and we're up 2% compared to last June. We're also very closely tracking foreclosure issues, and foreclosure deeds is when a lender takes back property from someone, usually for failure to pay. Those numbers have been very low. You'll see in that chart only 2 for June, slightly less than the 4 in May, but year to date we're 72% lower. And then foreclosure notices have also been low, but they're starting to creep up. Again, we're in a foreclosure moratorium, so it's kind of artificially low. There were 17 foreclosure notices recorded in June, slightly less than the 19 in May, significantly less than the 1 foreclosure notice in June of 2020. And year to date, we're down 56% in foreclosure notices. Again, a foreclosure deed is when someone has lost their property to the lender. A foreclosure notice is a document they're required as part of the process to foreclose that really makes people, should make people alert that they're in trouble. Clearly, if someone is in trouble paying their mortgage, you should reach out as soon as possible to a federal housing counselor to try to hold on to your property. And we also have a list of foreclosures and orders of notice for each of the 27 communities. Plymouth County, you can see right now there's a lot of zeros there. That should change when the foreclosure moratorium comes to an end. I want to highlight again that on our website you can sign up for a free property fraud alert. We just had someone bring in a document the other day that people are soliciting individuals that if you want a copy of your deed, pay them $95. That's ridiculous. You can get a deed from one of our offices for $1 a page. I will say there's been an incredible increase in electronic recording, meaning recording over the internet for land court and recorded land. Our training room has been closed to the public due to COVID concerns, but we hope to have that open again by the fall. And that's a training room that we run that people can sign up for to learn how to successfully navigate our system. So my guest coming up in segment 2 is Michelle Pecoraro, who's the Executive Director of Plymouth 400. We'll see you in the next segment. Welcome back to the Register's Report. My name is John Buckley. I'm the Register of Deeds of Plymouth County. In this segment of the show, we always do something educational in nature. We've had surveyors, appraisers, many realtors, commercial real estate brokers, and a lot of people that are involved in the real estate business. I have a special guest today in honor of a project we just worked on together, who is the Executive Director of the Plymouth 400, Michelle Pecoraro. Welcome, Michelle.
Thank you, John.
So why don't you start by telling our viewers a little bit about yourself and how you ended up in this position?
Yes, well, I actually started my career as a teacher when I was first graduated from college, and I changed over to business shortly thereafter. And I've worked in a lot of different places, but mostly I've been in the tourism industry for the last 20 or so years, which encompasses a lot of things that people don't realize. But history is one of them. And so when this position for the Executive Director of Plymouth 400 came up, a lot of my friends from Plymouth called me and said, you'd be great for this. So I did come up, and I'm so pleased that, you know, we were able to get the 400th up and running, and then things happened.
Certainly, everyone that's watching the show know what we're talking about.
Yes.
There were so many wonderful events planned because of the restrictions and safety.
Yes.
A lot of them were postponed. But you folks made an unbelievable transition and did a lot of things virtually and kept things moving forward, kept the spirit of the 400 going, and to your credit.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. You know, it was a big shift in our minds, but we knew we had so much. We had been working on this for a good 10 years. I was hired in 2014, so for me it wasn't 10 years, but people had been working on this for 10 years and plus. And what we knew was we had a lot of content, a lot of really good historic content and new content from the Wampanoag, you know, part of the story. And then, of course, upholding the content from the Pilgrim part of the story, and just looking at Plymouth as a new community, you know, how it's gone for 400 years from basically a space that was there, that they built houses on, to now being basically a small metropolis, I think. So we were able to take a lot of that content and make it virtual programming. And so all of that, you know, we've done over a dozen of those kinds of programs. And then, of course, we worked with you on one. So
clearly, I've looked back at the celebrations over the years, and they were all different than this year. Mm-hmm. I actually was a county commissioner for the 375th.
Right.
And was down by the Rock when they swore in all those new citizens, and that was a different way of approaching it. But this year, or this 400th anniversary, celebrated the bicultural partnership between the Wampanoags and the colonists, much more so than in other years.
Yes, and one of the things, as you know, back in the 70s, in 1970, when a Wampanoag person was invited, Frank James, to say his speech at a gala, they asked to see the speech, and then they censored him.
Oh, wow.
So that was the day of mourning was born of that. And every year in Plymouth now, on Thanksgiving, there's a gathering at the Massasoit statue. So we didn't want to repeat that. So the board of directors, when I was hired, said we need to have a Wampanoag voice in this, and we need to do that and allow them to freely speak, about their side of the story. And so that's what we've done, and we have several great virtual and live things. We have our story is 400 years of Wampanoag history, which is an exhibit that we produced, and we had the creators at Smoke Signals, Paula Peters and Steve Peters, actually do all of that content without censorship, without us, really looking at it and telling them what we wanted them to say. And so that's been the big change in this commemoration.
Yeah, and you had a person on the board, Linda Coombs.
Yes, we still do.
Who
Yep.
I had previous experience with when we opened up our new building, 14 years old.
Yeah.
Linda worked with us on a display of land transactions with the Wampanoags.
Yes.
And she was spot on
Yeah.
for every single word to make sure it told the right story.
Absolutely. And, their story has been skewed so often and for so long that allowing this and being part of this has been just a real bright spot in our work as a commemoration, bringing a commemoration to life. And in the 21st century, you have to. You have to talk about all the people who were involved in the history, not just the colonizers, not just the people who came here, but the people who were here. And I think that's going to be a change that we'll see in commemorations going forward, is that you can't tell one-sided stories. We got to tell the whole story.
So I know some of these programs are accessible through your website. You
Yes.
wanna tell people how to get to that?
Yes, it's Plymouth400inc.org. Of course, there's a www in front of that.
Right.
So it's Plymouth400inc, as in incorporated.org.
And a few of the things that are on that site.
Yes, we have all of the virtual events are up on that site. We also have an education page where you'll find other links to some of our partners' events and programming in the education sector. There's a lot of great information on that site. You can go right on it and look up our story or look up conversations. We have a show called Plymouth 400 Conversations. All of those are on there. And of course, we will be posting the project that we worked on as well.
Good. So there was a recent event over near Burial Hill that is a remembrance park. You want to? It's a joint project between the 400 and Pilgrim Hall.
And Pilgrim Hall Museum, yes. And so, we had always intended to work with them to help raise money for a park on that little site that they have. And it was going to be the commemoration park, 400th commemoration park. And when all of this happened with COVID, we rethought that, and we have made it a memorial park, and it memorializes the Native people who passed during the first pandemic, or a pandemic, in 1616 through 1620. And there were about 50,000 who passed during that. And then we also honor the half of the pilgrims, half of the 102 passengers who passed in that first year in 1620-21. And we also honor those that we lost in 2020 and beyond to this pandemic. So it really comes full circle from a pandemic in 1616 to the pandemic in 1620.
And that's the first memorial that I've seen that honors those that suffered and died in COVID-19.
Absolutely. It may be the first one. I'm not sure about that yet, but yeah.
Great. So let's talk about our joint project we did. You folks have been really interested in our colony records.
Yes.
From the beginning.
Yes.
And we've shown many visitors the colony records, and we had a conversation a long time ago now to try to get a virtual tour of the colony records together, based upon the inability to keep bringing people into our historic room and humidity controlled vault. So we worked on a project of a virtual tour, and with Plymouth 400, many of your board members, judges, president of the Realtors Association relative to private property rights, Justice Gaziano relative to the first trial by jury in America. So that is a project that we've been working on for 6 months or
Oh,
longer.
at least, yeah. I
Right.
think it's been a little bit longer than that, but it's been. I mean, when I heard that you had basically a poster exhibit that was not going to be seen, I thought, well, we're doing these virtual events. Why don't we couple that with kind of a little history of the 400th anniversary as well? So all of those people that you and I chose
Right.
are prominent people right now in 2020, 2021.
Right.
And they each talk about one of the historic documents
Right.
that relates to them.
Yes.
And so we have a whole host of community leaders and government leaders, and we even have the Ben Brewster, who I believe is the oldest Brewster still living today. And the Brewsters never moved 5 miles from the Rock, so we still have Brewsters
He
in
did a
Plymouth
great job.
today.
He did a great
He
job.
did. He did.
So it's being released this week
Yes.
on PAC TV,
Yes, it is.
and it'll be on YouTube,
Yes.
and then eventually we'll be adding it to our websites.
Yes, we will each add it to our respective
Right,
websites.
right.
Yeah,
That's
so
great.
I mean, it's exciting, and I would love to also do a screening of it with the people who were involved
that'd be nice,
at
yeah.
some point, just
That'd
to
be nice.
get us together and
Yeah.
see it together.
And so we'll take those thumb drives and we'll create a copy, and maybe when they come, we'll give them a copy of that. That'd be kind of
That
nice.
would be really nice. Yeah.
Great. So let's talk a little bit about events going forward
Yes.
from today. You have a big ceremony coming up soon.
Well, we have over Labor Day weekend a maritime salute to the 400th anniversary, where we'll have several tall wooden masted ships. We have about 3 coming right now, and of course the Mayflower, which is a wooden masted ship that already sits in our harbor. We'll also have some Coast Guard vessels, and some other vessels from NOAA, for example, is bringing their research vessel. And then we, in Pilgrim Memorial Park, right on the waterfront, we'll have lots of activities. We're going to have a Philharmonic concert on the Saturday night, which is the September 4th, and then a community day on September 5th. So we have a lot coming up, and we're so excited to do an actual live event. We're very happy about that. So.
So I appreciate you very much all the work you've done.
Thank you.
I think going forward, a lot of these things will be there forever.
Yeah.
And it is a great celebration that met the challenges of COVID-19. And,
Absolutely.
it'll be remembered by all, and on we go to the future.
I know, right? It's so true. But I thank you, John, and all of the work you've put in.
Great. Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you very much.
Great. Welcome back to the Register's Report. Again, my name is John Buckley. I'm the Register of Deeds of Plymouth County. I want to thank my guest, Michelle Pecoraro, for the great job she did in describing the role of Plymouth 400, some of the activities that they're involved with, and a couple of the things we've done together in partnership relative to the virtual Plymouth Colony Records Tour. This segment of the show is always lighter in nature. It's about our holidays in our history. The holidays in July were the July 4th Independence Day holidays. The 6th was National Fried Chicken Day. The 7th, World Chocolate Day. The 18th will be Nelson Mandela Day. The 21st, National Hot Dog Day. 29th, National Lasagna Day. And the 31st, National Avocado Day. And also on the 31st is the Old Home Day of Carver, of which we talked a little bit about its location at Shirtlift Park. So the first notable record we're going to be talking about is Shirtlift Park. It is a park in Carver, right on Route 58, near the town center. It's a host of Old Home Day, It was land donated to the town by Carlton Shirtliff Francis, a descendant of Carver native Benjamin Shirtliff, and it's a Carver landmark. Observed place for the Old Home Day, picnicking, fairs, band concerts. The first Old Home Day was celebrated in 1901 at the First Baptist Church adjacent to the park. But it's quite a place. There's a millstone from the Holmes Grist Mill, donated by his son. The corner of Main and West Streets, a memorial statue erected in 1910 to honor Carver residents of all wars, including the Civil War and the Spanish-American War. And in the center of the park, a bandstand built by civic groups Carver Active People in 1988. In 1938, a hurricane destroyed some of the trees. More pine trees were planted, and Shirtliff Park continues to be enjoyed by Carver citizens. The event in late July brings hundreds of former Carver residents into town who join with current residents in celebrating Carver's heritage. And this notable record work was developed by me with the Carver Historical Commission, and I thank them for their help. The next document is a fort that not many people are aware of on Saquesh Head in Plymouth. So Saquesh is a section of land that you can only access by boat or through Duxbury. There was a Civil War fort built there on land granted to Plymouth in 1638 by King James. It was once an island, but now it's accessible by vehicle. In 1863, Fort Standish was built. It's at the highest point in Saquesh on land owned by the Burgess family. The fort was named after the leader of the militia for the colony, Miles Standish. It's a series of earthworks with cannons on it, manned by local residents. It was never fired upon, or guns were never fired, but the fort and the land fell idle. So clearly that was done by some residents of Saquesh with me. And last but not least, a new notable land record, Ken Feinberg, a Brockton native, a prominent New York Compensation Fund attorney who was a special master in the September 11th Victim Compensation Fund. He's noted for his skills. He graduated from Brockton High School, University of Massachusetts Amherst, and New York University Law School. He worked for Ted Kennedy as his chief of staff when he was senator, managed the September 11th Victim Compensation Fund, the Boston Marathon Victim Fund, the Boeing Crash Victim Fund. He's a recipient of many awards and recognitions. And in 2016, Brockton celebrated Ken Feinberg Appreciation Day with guest speaker Hillary Clinton. The next notable record is a colonial record, and it is a record in the colonial deeds for a dowry. There was a time when people when their family were marrying off, would grant land for a dowry. So the mother of Elizabeth Warren granted this land to her husband at the time of their marriage. And it's not a tradition that happens anymore, but clearly something that is in the records of the colony days and went well into the 18th century. I want to thank Lorna Green Baker, Christine Richards from my office, helping me put this show together. I want to thank Emma Reardon and the folks here at Brockton Cable Access for helping me produce this show. This show will be given out to many local access providers throughout Plymouth County to share with you information about what for most people is their most valuable asset. We'll see you next month.